What's going on, champions? Welcome to another episode of the Perspektiv podcast. I am 𝗣𝗲𝗄𝗽𝗀𝗁𝗍𝒂.
My name is Dylan Elias.
And I'm 𝗣𝗲𝗄𝗽𝗃.
And this is season 2, episode 6 of where we tune the heart of mentoring. Let's go. And don't forget, before we even get started, if you liked any of the stuff we previously posted, please comment, like, subscribe, and share with the world. Let's go. How's everybody feeling today, man? How's everybody feeling?
Feeling good,
like
feeling great. I always picture my voice coming out as Kwame's voice when I say that. Feeling good, feeling great. It's not deep enough though.
DKM.
TKM.
DKM. I'm not gonna. I'm a little tired this morning. It's a little impromptu.
We got a guest, guys. There it is. The outstretched arms. Okay, this is how we started the morning. I didn't even hit record. I didn't even say hello. I just see this beautiful man up there with this Jesus arms stretched out. Can you tell us the story? Where'd that come from?
So this elder on my res, sometimes every once in a while, that people reach out to me and they say, "Hey, Levi," you know, they see my last name Horn, and I get honored with their stories every once in a while. So this man, 𝗣𝗲𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, my great grandfather, who, gave me my Indian blood, my native blood. And this guy's like, "Hey, 𝗣𝗲𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my great grandfather." And he goes, "Yeah, when we were little kids down in Lame Deer, Montana, he'd always come up to all of us kids and he'd stretch up his arms and he'd go, 'I am Denver Horn.'" And it's really cool to sit there and hear these stories of somebody who I've never met. And that's just what's really cool about being Native American, being so close to these special people, these people that held these ways. And I always send them off to my mom. My mom gets to hear stories about her grandfather, and it's just really, really special.
That's awesome, bro. And yo, you know what I just realized while you're telling that story? The name Horn. This is a coincidence. I didn't even know who our guest was today, but yo, look at my shirt.
Oh, what?
Who's that Horn? Who's that?
What are the chances of that?
That's a sexy shirt.
Look at that. I would not usually rep the Chicago Bears, but today was a special day. So
Are you jumping ship, bro?
no, I'm just supporting my mans.
Hey, you know what I saw hanging up coming through the laundry room?
No.
I rep my brothers up north too.
Yo, you know what the thing about that was? So we're doing a virtual camp here, and I felt real bad about what happened last year when the 4XL didn't quite fit your frame. So Kwame, did you see that 5XL that I put in the order?
Yeah, I noticed that.
That was for Levi. I was gonna send him a hoodie because we did him dirty last year. We had to give him the hoodie from 2 years ago because the one from last year didn't fit. So all right, maybe we should do a proper introduction.
I was just about to say, people don't even know who I am right now.
All right. Well, you are in the presence of the great Levi Horn, hailing out of Spokane, Washington. You played briefly at the University of Oregon, correct? And from then on, you played pro not only in Canada with the BC Lions, but you also played in the NFL with the Chicago Bears and briefly for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
That's what you do on paper, but why we're sitting here talking, why we got connected was your work you do with the youth. So correct me if I'm wrong, you're an addictions counselor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You do a ton of public speaking, and we were fortunate enough to have you come up to our Indigenous Northern Elite football camp in 2020, right before COVID. And
literally right before, when we were allowed to travel.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks before everything shut down, eh? And that was an awesome experience because, like we always talk about, there's a lot of people out there doing things on Instagram, a lot of people out there with a lot of awards. But for us to be able to see that, for us to be able to see that with our own eyes, for you to come take care of our kids in front of our eyes, that's what it's really about. And that's what it's special. And that's how we can connect on this podcast and kind of talk to you more about, dive into that, about techniques and what drives you. And yeah, so let's get to it. But really grateful to have you on here, even in this last minute. What can you just tell us, because you told me what you were cooking up last night, and that wasn't so last minute grilling up. That was, you put some work into that. That was hours and hours. Whoa, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Mama likes Mexican food, and remind me to tell you this story about Canada and Mexican food, because everybody needs to hear that. But no, Mama likes Mexican food, so I got this about 4-pound pork shoulder, pork carnitas. I did it up all night long in the slow cooker. Then after the slow cooker, I warmed it up for Mama and all of her friends, because it's Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there.
Yes.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Mothers. Oh my gosh, if it wasn't for my mother, I wouldn't be here. But then so I warmed it up on the smoker, kissed it with some smoke, and oh my gosh, these things turned out fire. Hit it with some Eastern Carolina mustard, vinegar-based barbecue sauce. Oh.
Ish.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm a little hungry still.
I already ate one this morning.
Levi, what's that behind you?
I got this gifted to me over in North Dakota, one of my speaking engagements. I was speaking out there with my boy Chance Rush. And they gifted this to me, and I felt like when we were going virtual, I felt that it was so important for this idea of togetherness, because this is a Pendleton. We get these a lot. When you're gifted a blanket, the blanket is a representative of a buffalo hide, and that buffalo hide, that gift, is to keep you warm in the winter. So it's one of the most important gifts that you get, because I care about you, I care about your family, and I want to see you next winter. Mm-hmm. So that's why we gift these Pendletons. And I thought I was looking through all my stuff when I was going to get my background going, and this is Native American with an American flag. And I just thought that was so important to sit there and say, you know what, we can all be different people, we can all have different walks of life, but you know what, this blanket represents, two things coming together. It represents the American flag in a Native American way, and this blanket doesn't hate nobody. This blanket doesn't say you can't be here. This blanket represents that we can be here no matter what. All these threads twining up together. It's okay. It's copacetic. And then I got University of Montana right here. I got right here. This is my medallion, Dog Soldiers, Northern Cheyenne War Society. They were some bad men. If you don't know about the Dog Soldiers, you better go Google that.
I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, I've been saying for years, I need to get a medallion. Like, I love those. Every time I see somebody wearing them, I remember seeing you wearing at the Northern League camp, and I was just like so drawn to it. Like, anybody that knows how to make them, please contact me.
Oh, I'll get you in touch with some people.
Please, bro. Dylan said he was gonna get me one, but never happened.
Still coming. They're still forging the crystals.
Come here today. What's going on?
Let's go. Let's get this popping, man. Let's get this popping. Levi, first of all, I've heard you speak at the camp, and I loved your passion. I love your storytelling, and I could tell like you were authentic with everything that came out your mouth. And I have to ask, because like I'm always curious as to like what the seed of this all this is. Like, at what point did you realize that, man, my gift to the world is to speak life into the world? At what point did you understand that was your calling? And if you could tell us a little bit about that process of realizing that.
First off, when you ever get called up to Canada to come speak, don't go behind Kwame and think you're gonna. Kwame's not the warm up. Kwame's not the warm up. All right, man. I was over there on the wall like, bro.
I remember I looked at you. I was like, I'm sorry. I don't know. He's still going. I can't stop him.
My bad, man. My bad. No, I was warming them up for you, man. Don't worry, big dog.
Oh, yeah, they
Dynamic duo. Let's go.
Yeah, they were nice to more. Yeah, they were nice to more, brother. No, your words, but you know what? Your words got me pumping. I was like, all right, got to step your game up. And then you guys came over to me and were like, hey, that was good. I was like, had to be good. I had to pull something out after Kwame. But no, I think a lot of that, it comes from the fact that I never thought anybody would ever want to hear my story. I told my story when I was a junior to this man from Fort Belknap. And I sat there, we're having dinner, and I told him my story, and he goes, Levi, you gotta tell people this. You gotta tell our kids this. And I was like, who wants to hear this depressing ass story? I was like, I don't even want to hear it. But it comes with that. And Kwame, I thank you for those words, authentic, because every time that I go and speak and I go up there and, you know, I'm not driven by anything other than spreading my stories. You know, when elders come up to me and they go, you know, you're really humble. And I think that's where it comes from, because I go up there, I tell my story in a very vulnerable way. And I feel like that's the only way that I'm going to be able to reach those kids, because, you know, they're out there hurting. And so I got to be humble. I got to be vulnerable, and I got to come from that way. Otherwise, those kids ain't going to connect. They're going to be like, this guy's fake. This guy's fake. This guy showed up for honorarium. This guy's trying to come in and out, and he's done. Just like everything else in our lives. He's going to come in, say hi, and bye. Whether it be their mom, their dad, their friends, their teachers, whatever. So it's just really trying to deliver my voice in a humble way and know that I'm not better than anybody in that crowd.
That's facts. And you definitely shown that. Like, we saw you rolling around the kids, running around the kids, like you were like at their level. You know, you're the definition of what a mentor is, you know, somebody who meets them where they're at, meets the kids where they're at. So like we definitely saw that firsthand, and like from the get-go, I was very impressed. And I think all of us were, you know, definitely somebody we want back up in the Great White North.
Oh yeah. That's crazy, because I was sitting there sleeping, and I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, what are we gonna talk about? What am I gonna say? What do I want? And if we're talking about mentors, we're talking about what you need to do. I learned this in my counseling school, is meeting them at their level. You can come in there with a plan, and that plan gets blown up to the walls. And if you can't meet them at their level, they're going to sit there and you're going to push them too hard, too fast. And if they can maybe go to one period that day, or if they can, you know, say I'm good one time or something like that, that's it. It's on their level. It's on them. You just got to help them through it. So you got to meet them at their level.
I would like, even when you were just talking about that, because you just answered one of my questions, because it was going to be around, you know, I know you offer a lot of like speaking engagements, especially with professionals who work with youth. And often everyone's questions like, what can we do, or what's missing, and or how can we train people better? But you kind of mentioned the, you know, meeting people where they're at. And that's something that we always talk about as mentors. That's the starting point and the ending of meeting people where they're at. But I do want to go into, because it is a champion season, and I know Dylan and Kwame know you, but I'm still getting to know you the first time here. So I'm excited for that. You noted embracing your future, and I know that you've given some recognition and draw importance to champions in your life. Who has supported you, and who was that mentor that saw like Levi Horn and was like that champion from the beginning for you?
You know, it was the first time I ever said this was in that room up there in Fort McMurray, when I sat there and I go, you know, we're all tribal people, no matter white, black, Asian, whatever. We're all tribal people from somewhere in our roots, Germanic, Italian. There's tribal roots everywhere. And I try to preach this as like, we all had our job in our tribes. We all made sure that we saw that next summer, that next spring. And I go, why do we feel like we have to do it alone now? We have to bear the burdens of the whole world now. I go, because that's not where we come from. That's society. That's what we do. That's what we teach ourselves now, which is such a negative behavior. And that's being able to ask for help too. I need some help. But it was the first time in that room up in Fort McMurray, and they said, who helped you out, Levi? I go, if you wanted to sit there and look at the army, it would have been this big. There's that many people that's behind me right now speaking in my mind as there are people out here. Mm. And, you know, first and foremost is always going to be my mom. My mom's going to come over today. I'm going to cook her a beautiful meal. I'm going to honor her in the best way that I can. But it's my mom. I feel Native American women, just like so many other minority women, they help keep our generation, our people alive these generations. And so I'm very appreciative of that. But when it comes to other people besides my mom, you know, it was the intervention of football. I was just looking at this training. I was just doing this training, and she goes, there has to be an intervention for this trauma circle to stop. So now one of my new things is, what's your intervention? My intervention was football, and I didn't even know it. Mm. Just by saying yes, just by saying, hey, yeah, I want to go out there. I want to put this helmet on. I want to go. That was my intervention. So all my coaches, you know, I was always a pat on the back guy, and that's what I wanted. And I knew I was doing right then. I knew I was doing right. So all my coaches were, if it wasn't this coach, it was the next coach and the next coach. And I still coach with my coach, and I still want that pat on the back. Good job, Levi. And so, you know, if it wasn't for this intervention, this idea, this game of football, you know, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now.
Yeah, and that's like, I like the way that you even just worded that, because it just clicked in my head of like, you know, sometimes people often see the intervention as maybe just like the counselor was my intervention at one point in my life, but we forget to look at all the, you know, the safe spaces or the places that you've been in that have been part of that community, pretty much therapy in some ways, or healing that comes out of being in community. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I want to meet your mom. I feel like I saw your mom noted first, and I was like, you know, like, it's really nice when I hear people share some sort of, like, if it's a mom that was a figure, because I know for me, my mom was my everything. My dad like represented strength. And I think that's where a lot of my drive comes from, and strength. So thank you for sharing that.
Shout out to moms on Mother's Day. And I kind of want to stick on this topic because we were talking to JR, who you played with and know the other week, and he was just talking about how growing up and his mom struggled with addiction, and you know, they ended up getting through that, and she ended up getting sober towards the end of her life. But I think this is something that often goes misunderstood. I remember one kid I was dealing with a couple of years ago, and his mom was heavy into drugs, and the system was trying to take him away, and he was fighting to go back, and she was fighting to get him back. And I was talking to someone who was involved in the process, and they had a foster home set up for him, and he didn't want to go, and the person didn't understand. They were like, life's so hard at home. Like, you know, he has to deal with, you know, drugs in the household, abuse in the household. He never has a safe place to sleep. Like, I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't he want to take this option? Why wouldn't he want to go to this nice family? And I was trying to tell, like, this is his mom. Like, you got to look past all that stuff, because through all that, which he knows is not right, which he knows she's struggling, but through all that, that's still the person that's his mother, that he cares for, that cares for him. Like, you can't take that bond away, no matter how hard it is to go through. So yeah, in light of Mother's Day, do you maybe want to speak on a little bit about how you get through that, and how you normalize that as a kid, and coming out on the other side and realizing those are hard, but it's still someone you love in a way that you can't love anyone else?
It's so hard. It's so hard. And first and foremost, for all those Native youth out there, for any youth that sit there and see this, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay. If you're listening to this, it's okay to ask for help, because it's not fair. This trauma that Native American and so many other ethnicities have experienced. It's not fair because our aunties, our uncles, our grandfathers, they're hurting and they don't even know why. They don't know why. And they self-medicate with a bottle of booze or blunt or whatever. But when it comes down to that kid that, and it's so unfair that we put these secrets. I remember being that first, second, third grader, and I had to go to school with all those secrets. And I had to sit there and I had to look at everybody day in, day out, and just be like, what you guys are experiencing is way different than what I'm experiencing. And that's where we got to sit there. And that's why mentors, that's why we're doing the work that we do, so we can stop this hurt and stop this pain, so we can stop putting this on these kids, because that's what we're doing. We hurt our kids with this. But those people that don't understand, you got to understand that little kid, that little girl, in their mind is the only reason why their mom or dad is still alive. That's the only fail safe. That's the only thing that I have between my mom or dad dying, because there's nobody else that's good. And that's why it's so hard to sit there and see our kids bear those struggles. But please, I sit there and I say again, it's okay to ask for help, no matter how scary it is. Because that's what we learn. We learn in trauma-based families, don't ask, don't feel, don't tell. Because you got to keep all those secrets.
Yeah, and honestly, even just like you mentioning that, like a lot of youth, when they are going to schools and stuff, and they're already carrying that, they have to put that like protective way of not saying anything because they don't want to be the fear of, social services getting involved or other people being known of what's happening at home. So it's just a burden to carry every day. And not knowing like where is safe. So when you talk about like sports, if that was like an outlet for you and different communities that you're part of. But I really, that's I think that's a lot of kids you face that. And when they find that mentor and they can actually voice safely, like, hey, like I am struggling with this. It's the one person that actually, other than a family member, that's not going to judge them and just be like, hey, I hear you. I see what you're struggling with. You can come here and talk to me about, if you just want to vent that out and release that. I think the release, like not having a place to release some of those burdens that people carry, I think is one of those deadly things that carry on a lot for people, even into adulthood. So I think just the point of having somebody
Facts.
reaching out.
And that's one of the hardest things about being a mentor too, is when can I intervene? When do I have to intervene versus, it's such a fine line. It's such a gray area, because once you do that, once you pull the trigger, once you call CPS, you have the Child Protective Services down here in the States. You might be removed from that child. That child might knock you off now. You might have just ruined that relationship. And that's one thing where you sit there as a mentor and say, I know this has to happen, but am I one of the only fail safes in this child's life? So mentors, be ready for that decision.
Levi, you said sports was your intervention. And I totally can agree with that. For me, same thing, sports saved my life. And right now in these dark times and in these unprecedented times with COVID going on, there are so many youth who are missing out on the power of sport. There's so many youth who really and truly were going to school just so they could play their sports. That was what was keeping them in school. And now that's been taken away from them. And there's a lot of youth who have been dropping out of school since this virtual learning thing started. Sports has been a way for them to stay in school and also to socialize and be quote unquote normal, So right now there's so many kids that are dropping out. There's so many kids that aren't even logging in because they don't even have access to a computer, right? And the dropout rate is crazy. The suicide rate is crazy right now. people are hurting, people are lost, people are hopeless, people are giving up. So my question, the reason why I say this, and my question to you is that what can these youth do, or what can we do as mentors or as adults to help ensure that these kids still follow their dreams, and don't give up because of what's going on around the world?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Kwame, and then we're going to be millionaires and billionaires.
Let's go.
That's this podcast, though. But it's they're kids, they're youth, they're teenagers, and we're outnumbered as good-hearted mentors. But it on the end of the day, and it sucks to say, we got to rely a little bit on the system. We got to rely on us. We got to rely on the people that are willing to text him on Saturday and Sunday. Where you at? What are you doing? What's going on? Because these kids can't do it. If they could do it, it would still be in school. They would, you know what I mean? We wouldn't have to worry about it. And so that's where it comes through, breaking that, just getting people who love this work. That's what it is. It's on us. We're the adults here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's why I sit there and I say, I'm still in touch with a few kids up there. I wholeheartedly say, hey, if you need something, hit me up on Facebook. There's a positive side to all of this social media, and that is that we can be connected with somebody ASAP. And so that's just when it just comes to us, man. And it's tough because we're outnumbered.
Yeah. And I think, as you were talking, I just thought, man, it's so important and essential that the people that are in this field are genuine, are doing this from a good heart and are not just trying to collect checks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm just putting this out there. Anybody who's interested in getting into youth work or any type of work that's involved with youth, coaching, teaching, whatever, make sure you are authentic and you are really invested in this, because you hold the keys, you hold the gates to the future of so many young people, and that's more important than anything. So if your heart's not right, if your heart's not in it, please do not get involved.
Yeah, don't do it for all the big bucks that social work gives you.
Hey, to somebody that could be big bucks, bro.
You guys do have those fancy mics, though. Oh no, but no, that's real talk right there. You got to be real, and you don't understand it until that one kid remembers that one thing that you said that one time, and you go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Yeah. That's what changed your life. Yeah, run it. Yeah.
That's so true, man. Oh my gosh. We have to remember they're always listening, man.
Oh.
Everything that comes out of our mouths, we better be on point, man. They're always
facts.
Levi, so in your opinion, your humble opinion, what is something that you believe everybody in this world should know? Something that you think everybody in this world should know, and if they knew this world would be a better place. What's one thing?
Coming up from being on welfare on state, I didn't know this thing until I got in college. Because when we come from these trauma backgrounds, we don't get to learn a lot of stuff. That's why other people go to college. That's why they have these expectations. That's why they have these coping skills. So I think the number one thing, being a big old jock, being a big old offensive lineman where I just go, boom, let's do this. Let's do it the next play. I like it as simple as possible. And that is, attitude is your choice, no matter where you came from, no matter who you are, no matter how bad it is, your attitude is your choice. I sit there and I say this, I go, we don't have a lot of choices in our life. Otherwise, I wouldn't have chose to be poor. That would have been a bad choice. We have control over that, no matter how bad it is. That rose coming through the concrete cracks, that came through there with that choice of being that rose. No matter what was around that rose is still a rose. And so when I sit there and I that's one of the first things that I say to all kids. attitude is our choice no matter what. That's why we got hoopers coming from the ghettos, the slums, all that stuff. You know what? Because they chose not to quit. They chose to give 100% effort. And that's the one thing that they have control over. Buddha says that humans keep themselves in torment by thinking of two things, the past or the future, two things that they do not have control over.
Yes, sir.
Get me on it.
Yo, that was deep. That was deep.
Get me all excited over here at 9:08 in the morning over here. Oh, wait till I'm gonna go wake my kids upstairs and just get them going. Today's gonna be the best day. Are we living our best life? We'll be like, Daddy, what's going on? I was like, Kwame, Izzy, and Dylan.
I feel like we're all getting like that mentor energy that we're talking about, like how important it is to just be like that energy and like excitement to even hop on. So I feel your energy, Levi.
I'm ready to put hands in and just go out to 50 kids. Like, let's go do this.
Yeah. I can definitely tackle that.
And that's one of the things that's one of the sad things, because you can teach history class for 50 years, right? What we bring to the table does have a shelf life. And it sucks to say that, but you know, we're not going to be able to hit with these kids and bring that energy when we're, you know, I'm about to get a knee surgery, so.
Well, I want to ask you something. What makes you proud looking back to where you came from, Levi, and who you are today?
My mother told me this when I was very young. She goes, Levi, you were up in the heavens and you were with Creator and you chose me. For whatever reason, you chose me. So there's no thing that Creator puts before you that you can't handle. Through all the trials and tribulations that me and my mother, my family have had, I know I could overcome them. I know it was a challenge. And my mother teaching me, you know, I'm in high school, I'm leaving, I'm ready to go. Like, Levi, I can't stop you. You're 6'7", 280 pounds. The door's right there. She goes, but no matter what, when you leave this door, when you leave this house, she goes, you cannot say that you don't know the difference between right and wrong. And she'd always she wanted to get me jazzed up. She'd be like, don't be a dumb Indian. It's like, oh, golly. Always get me with that one. And then the last thing, one of the many things my mom taught me was give better to your kids than what you had. She goes, I did that as best as I could. And that's why, you know, that's why I go to work every day. That's why I do what I do. That's why I hustle. That's why I grind, is for these kids. These kids, my kids will not know the idea of not going to college. And that's how I honor my mom. And that's one thing that I'm very proud that my mom gave me. Give better to your kids than what you had. And if we all do that, we don't got to worry about our kids anymore. We might be out of a job if we all do that.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That would be a blessing.
Yeah. And even just like the fact that the next, like your own, with your kids, like the next generation has already stopped. Like that's very powerful. I think even just us in this room, I kind of have an idea of some people's lives, but just even like myself, like knowing that I've done some steps that have been not touched, some areas in life that I didn't even think was going to be possible, or people didn't think was going to be possible for me, and just going there. And then I don't have kids of my own, but I feel like that would be like the feeling of knowing that, like, even in my presence today, that's been either the ending of that trauma or the ending of that generational like barriers that people had faced in my lifetime. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, so what did you say? 6'7", 280 pounds?
That was when I was a senior.
That was when you were in grade 7. Okay. We always call football the greatest, most inclusive sport in the world. And there's many reasons for that. but there was one that hit me. I think it was last summer. Yeah, but one of the young kids I got playing football, and he was big. Always big, like in elementary school. He was always taller than everyone else. He always weighed more than everyone else, and I'm sure you can relate to some of those struggles. Um, but he really took a liking to football, but he really took a liking to the lifestyle, to the O-line lifestyle, to the hoggy lifestyle. And he felt like he had a place. He felt like he was included. And I remember him opening up to me about this one day, and he just said, like, hey, this has been so important for me. He's like, I was always so self-conscious about my body. And then now I realize that I'm not fat. I'm just O-line. And he was and he was so like happy that he found a group of people who were embracing their big bellies, and they would take their shirts off for the runs. And he found this little community of guys. Yeah, he just talked about how important that was for him over the last like year and a half to be so confident with like who he was, and he would get on the bus and feel good about himself. And um yeah, like I had Di, who you met the other day. He's a trainer in the sports world for a long time, and he came in and he saw this kid, and he's just drooling. He's like, oh my god, this kid could do anything. Like he was like and that was the first time anyone ever talked about his body in like a positive way. He was always, so how was that for you, like growing up, and how important was football for you to like embrace who you were?
So first off, I was a first team All-State tight end on
You were a tight end. You were a tight end.
1-9 team, mossing folks, one-handers. So the day that I went to the offensive line was like the day that nobody ever comes out and says, I want to be an O-lineman. Everybody has dreams about catching the ball. But, that's one of those things of, I got to make this fun. I got to make this work. I got to do this. And it does give you that as a bigger man. I get that. I love that too, because I was always big, and you're sitting around with a bunch of big folk too. I had 6'9", 6'7", 6'6", 6'3". We were all 290 and above in the University of Montana. And those were my boys, but that camaraderie ship, and especially when you're talking about people who don't have brothers and people like that. Oh, it's so important. That's one of the most important things. And if you don't have value in your life and you're a big guy, that's go to the offensive line. You're going to get some value, because everybody's, if you win, it's the QB and the running back. But if you lose, it's on you. And you just stay humble through the whole thing and say, I did my job. And to sit there and go look next to your brother and say, all right, let's get this double team on, and you move another man. Oh, it's powerful. That's, I never really even thought about it like that, Dylan. And I'm so happy to hear that man's story, to sit there, because that's what our slogan was at the University of Montana, was DOLA, dominant offensive line attitude. We sit there and chant DOLA all over the place. We were going to win. We were going to win together, and we knew that we had to do that together. Other positions, QB, running back, DBs, those DBs have they have a different personality. Wide receiver. Yeah. But we have 5 people trying to do one thing. We have 5 people, 10 feet, trying to do the same thing, accomplish the same goal, against a bunch of mean cusses pinning their ears back. I love that story, Dylan. That is an amazing story.
They say that the most important unit on a football team is definitely the offensive line. Like, that's what they say.
That's the smartest unit too.
Also, yes, one of the smartest units. And I also heard that the most important coach on a football team is the offensive line coach. I personally think the 2 most important coaches on a football team, especially when you get to the higher levels, are the O-line coach and the strength and conditioning coach. The strength and conditioning coach is in the grind with them. He's in the mud with them. He's with them from 6 a.m. to whenever. He really knows, or she really knows, the team. So
with the O-line coach, you got 5 big old. That O-line type.
Yeah. So for people who don't play football, how do you explain it, Levi? Like O-line's always the, like a little. O-line's got a little weird thing going on. Like they're just a little bit like different than everyone else. Like even the D-line, it's just like they got their own kind of weird little culture going on.
But here's the thing: nothing happens without the O-line. It's on offense. Nothing happens without the O-line.
I think it's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ask Barry Sanders.
I think it's. I don't know. You got one of the most thankless jobs. If you lose, it's your fault. If you win, it's their fault, or it's because of them. And you don't get any touchdowns, so you got to make what it is.
You never get your name in the paper.
Yeah, you got to make it is what it is. What it is, and what it is sitting there and putting your will against somebody else's for you and your brothers. And you got to make fun. You got to make lemonade out of lemons, really. And we sit there and we only know. O-linemen, we know. We look at each other. We have our inside jokes, and it's a really dirty, beautiful culture.
You look back on the film like, yeah, I got that pancake. Let's go.
Okay.
Levi, at the beginning of this episode, you said something. You said that you ran into somebody who knew was it your grandfather or your great-grandfather?
My great-grandfather.
Your great-grandfather, great-grandpa Horn. He always used to put up his hands. And you heard the stories about great-grandpa Horn. And there's a question we ask every episode to all our guests, which aligns with what I'm about to ask you. Years from now, when your great-grandchildren run into somebody who knew Levi Horn, and they run into them wherever they run into them, and they say, man, your great-grandfather was this and that and this. What words will they say that you will know that you made an impact in this world? What words will they say that you knew that you made an impact during your time on this planet?
Just with O-linemen, just like with our culture, what we do, like, you're not the most flashiest. You're not getting the MVPs. You're not getting all that. But if I had somebody talk about me generations from now, I would, and I tell my kids this, when they fail, failure's not a bad word either. When they lose, he tried his best. He tried his best. That's simple. I'm not perfect. I'm not the most flashiest guy. I don't have all this. I don't have all the answers. But if somebody could simply say, you know what, he tried his best in a good way, I'd be very honored with that. Because and if that person could sit there and try their best, shoot, that's all we did. Just tried our best. Got back up, tried our best again. So I think with those very simple words, I think I'd be very honored with that.
Facts.
Love it.
Yeah. Simple. Very simple.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid.
You ain't lying. All right. Levi, thank you so much for blessing us with your time, your perspective, and your stories. We really appreciate this. And we know that our viewers are definitely going to get some value from everything that came out of your mouth today. And if you're watching this, like I said, I know you got some value. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe on every platform. And on that note, Dylan, take them with the outro.
And hold on, real quick. We forgot. Levi, you're an amazing speaker that we've all got a chance to hear you. If somebody wants to book you, where do they go?
Hit me up on Facebook, Levi Horn. That easy. Send me a message. When I say it's all for the work, it's all for the work. We'll make it happen. We will make it happen. Yeah, man. Facebook me, email. It's all on there. LeviHorn.com.
Levi Horn.
There we go. There we go.
In case you forgot.
All right, everybody. Well, that's this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Levi, for coming. Remember, that's just our perspective on mentoring. What's yours? See you next week.